and a rescue dog reunited. 3 countries and 6 years later, even the offer of a private jet to bring an Australian couple their beloved pet. Now for a doggy tale of international travel with a difference. Munchkin was a Bali street dog until Natasha Corbin and her fiancé David Danes came across the puppy while they were living in Indonesia. And since then, Munchkin has been on quite a voyage because Natasha has spent the last 6 years working to have her reunited with them back home in Australia. And having passed through Jakarta, Singapore and New Zealand, Munchkin finally made it to Queensland just before Christmas. Well, earlier I was able to talk to Natasha, David and Munchkin, and I began by asking Natasha how they'd first come across the dog in Bali.
We were living in Bali, and at the time I wasn't supposed to talk to or look at any dogs because I'm such a dog lover, and David knew that I would just fall in love with a dog and want to keep one. And this little doggo kept following us home, and we just fell in love with her, and our neighbours actually asked us to take her in while they found a new home for her. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. And so we decided after a year of trying to rehome her that we would keep her and try and bring her back to Australia.
And you've obviously have eventually brought her back to Australia, and she's doing a great job at the moment, and well done for keeping her sedate, guys. But I think, can you just talk us through the hurdles and all the steps that you had over the last 6 or 7 years to get her home?
Yeah, so it was supposed to take around 6 weeks and $10,000 to get her from Bali all the way through to Australia. But she got stopped a couple of times on the way, just complications happened. So in Singapore, her rabies vaccine wasn't strong enough, so she had to stay there for 6 months. And then while she was there, she got a tick virus, which meant she couldn't come to Australia. And then we found out a couple of years ago we could take her to New Zealand and live with her there because we weren't able to live with her in Singapore. So we were visiting Singapore to visit our dog regularly. And so then when we found out we could take her to New Zealand, we did that. And then when she finally got cleared to travel to Australia a couple of months ago, because of COVID, all of the flights were being cancelled. And so I was in Australia for a surgery. David was with Munchkin over in New Zealand, and we were worried that we weren't even going to be able to be together for Christmas. So we were frantically searching for ways that we could get them home with all the flights being cancelled. We looked at private jets, we were looking at charters and all sorts of things. But we were very fortunate that we had someone reach out to us who had seen our story, and they were organising their own private charter, and we were able to jump and get Davey on those.
I mean, it sounds like Homeward Bound. That was my favourite film growing up. It just sounds like an incredible story that you'll no doubt sell to Hollywood for millions soon. Can you just tell us about, because we've got pictures of when you were finally reunited with Munchkin, just tell us about that moment.
Yeah, it was pretty special. I had been separated from them for over 6 months, having surgery here in Australia. And so I was just so missing them and so excited to see them. And when she finally came off the plane and she came down on the little forklift, and she looked so scared, but it was such a magical moment. And she didn't shut up for like 20 minutes after we finally were reunited. She was just squealing with excitement, and every now and then she would just stick her head up and squeal at me again. It was so beautiful.
And David, you had one rule, didn't you? Don't pet any dogs because you will fall in love. How did that go?
Exactly. Yeah, I knew that if Natasha created a bond with a dog in Bali, we would end up having a dog. And long story short, that's what happened.
And here we are.
Yeah, long story short, and tens of thousands of dollars later and years later. But hey, at least you've got a really great story to tell. And I gather she came back just before Christmas, so the perfect present.
It was, absolutely. We had a lovely family Christmas together. And yeah, it was just so wonderful to finally have them home.